Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a Just Sayin mini book card DIY. And I wanted to show everyone how to make this. This was one of my most popular items when I used to do craft markets. It's a mini book and a card, and that's why I call it a Just Sayin, because you can fill it with whatever you want. Mini book card. And it is made out of watercolor paper and a nice stiff front and back. You can embellish it with whatever you want. I chose to use a little brad on the front with some washi tape. And then I close it using a elasticated string. Super fun. So let's get started. What you're going to need is you're going to need some watercolor paper. You could use any kind of paper you want. I like using watercolor and a 9 by 12, and you'll see why, because we don't have to cut down any of the length of this. I like using watercolor because you can use any medium then to put into your book. So if you wanted to paint a picture for someone, you could. We're going to do this 2 inches by 9 inches. And you just literally cut strips from the watercolor paper book. I think you can get about 5 strips or so. I guess there's 12, so you get 6 strips out of that. And then this is my scoring tool. And if no one has a scoring tool, or if you don't have a scoring tool, it's really handy. You don't have to use one. You could just measure with a ruler and fold. But this tool actually has guidelines and you can score your paper. So I'm scoring 1.5 inches all the way down the paper. And then this one comes with a little bone folder, which is nice. And I'm just gonna articulate, fold back and forth like an accordion. And that's going to be the inside for one of the books. And that's how easy the book pages are. So again, here it is again, 1.5 inches score lines. And I will put a link of where you can get one of these score pads. This one's a Martha Stewart one. I got it at Michael's, but I'm sure I'll be able to find a link off of Amazon. There's many different manufacturers of score pads. This one's nice because it fits a 12 by 12 sheet. So the next step is really going to be the covers of the book, and it's nice to use something stiff. I'm using matboard here, but you could use bookboard, you could use cardboard, you could use a heavier weight paper if you don't have anything like that. If you could use your watercolor paper as well. So this is 1.5 inches by 2 inches, and you need obviously a front and a back for each book that you're going to make. And I'm playing around with the paper I'm wanting to use. I really like anything to do with games, and I found this scrap piece of paper with some dominoes on it and thought it might be really fun to use. You could use it even as a little score pad for your next games night. Just using some glue stick to glue on the glue. You could use any glue you wanted here, white glue. I just find the glue stick really convenient. And just make sure you get all the edges. And you're going to glue that right down onto your piece of paper that you chose for your cover. If you don't have any scrapbooking paper, I mean, you could grab a piece of paper from a magazine or even a newspaper that you're putting in recycling. There's lots of options there. And these are also great ways to use up scraps because you really only need a very small piece of paper to cover this 1.5 by 2 inches little mini book covers and backs. So that's looking pretty good. And again, the only reason why I put it there on the page is it fit there, and also because I was trying to get a specific domino look on the front. So just trimming the front and back, and as with other book covers we've done, we're going to cut off the corners at 45, and then we'll be folding over the edges. This is a really nice book to give away as a gift instead of a birthday card, for example, or an anniversary card. You can include so many details in a little book like this. Again, because it's watercolor, you could use markers. You could have a lot of people sign it. It might be a little fun little book for work colleagues. And also favors for birthday parties or even weddings, particularly when you put it in that nice little bag that I showed at the beginning. And when you can get those bags off of Amazon, I'll provide a link for that as well. This is just really versatile. I mean, imagine like the little wedding favors or birthday party favors you can do with this. Kids love to doodle and draw. This in a little giveaway at the end of a birthday party with a few colored pencils. What a great little treat to take away. And you can theme it for your party. Here I'm really just going back and forth so it's easier to fold up around the edges of the bookboard or matboard that I'm using. And again, I'm just going to be using some glue stick to glue it down. The background there, it's just an old magazine that I use to glue on so I don't get it onto my table. Sorry that it's off screen a little bit. I like to go opposite sides first, so I will go opposite sides and then go the other opposite sides to glue down. There's no right or wrong there. That's just my personal preference. I think I show a better job of it on camera the next time I do it. So just really make sure that that's pushed down. It's going to pop out a little bit. Use your bone folder. I actually have too much gap at the corner, which I showed how to fix in a previous video. I will show again. Sorry, it's off screen a little bit. I do pull it up, but we'll put some glue on one of the pieces of paper that I cut off, one of those little corners, and we're going to stick it right back onto the corner, covering that little gap piece where you can see my matte board color of red there. So you'll never be able to tell the difference once the watercolor paper is attached to the book. And here I'll do it again. This time you can actually see it. It doesn't matter what triangle you grab, just grab any one and stick it right over top of that. Push it down nice and secure and set it aside to dry. Again, gluing all around the edges, really making sure that they get a lot of glue on the edge to stick it down nicely. And as I said, I like doing the two sides and then I flip and do the other two sides. A magazine is a really great tool to use for your gluing. Most of us have a magazine or some sort of scrap book around, and you can flip glue and then flip a page, and then that way you know that you're never going to have any glue on the good part of your artwork that you're working on. It's also a good way to recycle magazines if you're not going to be using them for anything else. So this one I did better. I didn't have the issues with the corner. And the reason why I had the issues with the corner when it showed a little bit of gap is because I cut too close to the corner. My 45 angle wasn't right, and that created that gap. So a lot of it is just practice. Sometimes you just make a mistake. Sometimes you can push with glue. Looks like I am going to cover that one little corner there. But for the most part, you won't see the gaps at all, either in this way to do it or if you're making a bigger book. So again, this is a great way to use your scraps up, because those triangle scraps would normally just go in the garbage. I actually keep most of my triangle scraps and I use them for a variety of other projects, just collaging and things like that. They're kind of nice little triangle pieces to keep. And that's looking pretty good. White glue would also be a good alternative to this. Sometimes it just takes a little bit longer to dry for the white glue on that. So as you can see, we have our front and our back. We have our watercolor paper that we have scored at 1.5 inches all the way down, the 9-inch long piece. The next step that we're going to do is we are going to add the brad onto the front, because we want to add that before we glue the watercolor paper. If you mess up and glue your water paper in because you get really excited to complete this project, then you can do it afterwards. But this is just going to give a cleaner, more professional look if you put it on first, so you don't see the end of the brad on the inside of your watercolor paper. So brads come in a lot of different formats. Really basic. There's a flower one there, just a really basic beige one, polka dot one, another flower one, and these ones are covered in fabric. They feel quite nice actually. So really I'm just trying to decide which one to use. I think really the black and white really goes along with the domino theme, and that's the one I'm going to use. So I'm going to be using my awl, my bookbinding awl, to make the hole for the brad to go through. If you don't have a bookbinding awl, you could use a pin, a needle, anything sharp that will go through the matboard or bookboard or whatever material you're using. And they're really, if you never used them before, it's super fun. You just push them in, and then there's a tab on either side. On the other side, push them down, and that secures them in place. So that's going to be my front. The idea of using the brads I love because it really makes the book very unique and adds that embellishment to it, that it's just not a covered book front and back, that there's some more depth and variety to that. So the next stage is to glue on the watercolor paper. I'm using this tacky glue. I picked that up at Michael's, and this is a nice glue because it's a bit thicker and it doesn't cause your paper to warp, but you could use any white glue. You could use your glue stick again if you wanted. I like going with this tacky glue only because there is that brad on there, and it just takes a little bit more effort to glue that because it's not exactly flat when we're pushing it down to the watercolor paper. So make sure you have it pretty much to the edges. We've cut the page of the watercolor paper to the same size as the bookboard, so they should be lined up, so you won't see very much of the book side at all showing through on this side. So line it up. Because we're using the white glue, there's a lot more ability to move it around and get it in the exact spot. I'm using the binder clips again to secure each side as I'm pushing it down, getting it in the right spot. And then this just helps it glue in place and keep it where I want it to stay. So if you don't have these, this is a great handy tool for so many things, and you can even include these little clips into your junk journals to hold things. So lots of use for those little binder clips. So that's coming along. We're pretty much done, but we have to glue the back. So we're going to use the same glue as the front, the sticky glue, tacky glue, I should say. These are really fun projects to do a lot of all at the same time. So you can kind of have an assembly line. If you're not feeling like creating a large book and you're just feeling like you want to do something small, creating these fronts and backs is a really fun project because they're very small. You're using up scraps, and you can create up to the step of adding the watercolor paper. So you could have all your fronts and backs lined up kind of like I do on the table there, ready for whenever you're ready to assemble, to have time to assemble them. You can change your fronts and backs paper, so I'm using all matching here, but you certainly don't have to. The front page of the book could be certainly different than the back of the book, depending on what you're using as papers or what you have in your scrap pile. So I like to embellish these books with a little bit of a image, stamped image, a saying, that kind of thing. So I just grabbed this one image of the flower because it had a flower on the front. So this is easy. We just put it in black stamp pad and push down, push up, and we have a very nice flower image. If you're using this for a birthday card, obviously you could write happy birthday in them, or a thank you card. So many options. If you want to leave it completely blank because you're going to fill it up with words or images, whatever the case may be, then leave out that step. I just like to have something in there, so I'm not going to be writing on a blank page when the time comes, or if I give it away, there's something there for the person to open up and see. So I'm just finishing this next one, and again, same technique, bit of glue. This one I'm smearing with my finger, gives a little bit of a smoother gluing surface there. Using the binder clips, clipping them all down. Just speeded this up a little bit because it's the same as what we just did. The watercolor paper takes really well to all kinds of glue. That's another great reason to use the watercolor paper. Got a bit of an inky finger on that one there. So I would let those dry for at least a few hours before giving them away or completely filling them. I think stamping them at this stage is fine. The last thing I'd like to do is do some embellishments with washi tape. I love washi tape, as you probably know from my other videos. And I kind of use it as my trademark when I go to used to go to the markets and sell my products, my handmade books and cards. Washi tape was always one of the elements I always made sure that was somewhere on the book. Same with stamping, because I really love those two elements right after I love the paper. So this is hard to see because it's off the screen, but I just took a piece, and because washi tape is so easy to rip, you can put wherever you want on the inside and outside, rip it, seal it, done. If you wanted to, you could put the washi tape on before you put the watercolor paper on, because then it would go underneath the watercolor paper. So if you wanted that cleaner look, you could certainly do that. Lastly is the closure, which I'm using an elasticated piece of string. This I picked up at, I think it was Walmart. I'll look for an example on Amazon to show you a link. But it literally just is stretchy cord or string. Cut it bigger than you think because it's very tricky to tie. I had some trouble tying, and even when it was a little bit bigger, my fingers not working that great right now. But I literally just do a double knot. So just a regular over and under, and then over and under, and give it a pull, and then you can trim off the excess. So if you do cut it big, and again, it's easier to tie big, then cut off the ends of the cord or string. You could use regular string if you wanted to. If you didn't have a tie, it would just open, and that's not a bad thing either. But I just love the look of it being a tightly closed book. You could use elastics if you had elastics. And this is the little bag again. Super sweet, would be amazing for giveaways. If you liked it, please subscribe to our channel, give us a like, and hit that notification bell so you know when we post another video. I hope you love this. Thanks for watching.